Can the audio visual guys, can you guys hear me? Did Gabe go ahead and call in? We'll probably move him to the top, so he can go ahead and sit in on this meeting, if you want to go ahead.
Let me call to order and all that.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to call to order the June 27th, 2025 meeting of the Oklahoma Space Industry Development Authority. And just to make note that this meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act requirements. The agenda was posted 48 hours in advance of the meeting as required. And this meeting is being recorded for posterity. Okay, let's see here. I'd like our guests to introduce themselves, if you don't mind. Yes, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Hi, I'm Edith Rolls. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for the Oklahoma Broadband Office, and I'm the Chairwoman's child.
Very nice to have you. Thank you. All right, and we have the rest of our team. Thank you very much. We'll move on here to item number 4, approval of the minutes from the May 14th meeting. Yes. Oh, I didn't state a quorum. Roll call. It's always something. Okay. Could you call the roll, please?
Absolutely. Ms. Gary.
Here.
General Lyman.
Here.
Mr. Schultz.
Here.
Chairwoman Rolls.
Here.
Mr. Siegfried.
He is not here but has an excused absence.
And Mr. Henry.
He is also not here but has an excused absence.
You want me to give me the excuse absence if I wasn't here, will you?
It would have been unexcused. Okay, now I believe we're ready to move on to agenda item 4.
Okay, the minutes are in your packet and had been sent out. Does anybody have any questions about the minutes?
We do not.
Make a motion for their approval.
Seconded.
Ms. Gary.
Aye.
General Lyman.
Aye.
Mr. Schultz.
Aye.
Chairwoman Rolls.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 5.
Okay. For me, the treasurer's report. Would you like to give us a rundown, please?
Absolutely. Our general revolving fund saw an increase as of May 31st at $36,500. The airport fund saw an increase of $157,000. And just a note, the Air Force is 3 payments behind, so there's another $309,000 that'll be added to that. And then for our air park account, our air park account is up $11,683.
Very good.
Okay. Are there any questions? Any motions?
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Very good.
Ms. Gary.
Aye.
General Lyman.
Aye.
Mr. Schultz.
Aye.
Chairwoman Rolls.
Aye. Okay, we are going to switch up our agenda a little bit. If Gabe is available, he is remote and is going to provide an update from the Artemis Group.
If the audio visual team can, I don't think Gabe can hear us. Can you hear us now, Gabe? Gabe, if you can hear, if you can see us, you're good to begin your presentation if you can speak.
Are you texting him, Craig?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
in the, okay. He says he's in the waiting room.
Okay.
It shows that he's there. Yeah, audio visual team, he can't hear or see. I'll
I'll dote on him for a minute. He's a coach for his kids' team. And so he's traveling to be with them. He's spending some annual leave with his family. And took
Great.
time in the middle of his schedule to,
I think he's there now.
he says he's gonna drop out and come back in.
Did you, that's not you. He's just on mute.
Yeah, it says he's muted.
It looks like he dropped out again.
Yeah, he's gonna come back.
He needs to
Try
come back.
in. Come on.
See how he's muted in the corner?
Which corner?
So he needs to unmute himself, or we need to unmute
He
him?
needs to unmute himself.
Okay.
Hey, can anybody hear me over there?
We do,
Listen,
we
There
got
we go, gotcha.
We got you,
General
Gabe.
Lyman, can you give me a thumbs up if you got me? Okay,
Houston.
I can't hear you guys, so I'm just gonna assume that everything's okay for me to give an update. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Deirdre, thank you for that thumbs up. So a few things here that I think are really important. Number one, thank you for helping me get in here remotely. But I want to give a couple quick updates. First of all, I wanted to say thank you and congratulations on the Dawn Aerospace announcement and the coverage. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you were tracking it, but the OSIDA team did an incredible job rallying and working with Dawn to really make a lot of headway throughout the industry. When we made that announcement, it was the #1 story on Space News. It was a lot of talk throughout the industry at different conferences. When we were in Paris, it was a big deal over there. And so again, that's just something that this entire team has worked on for a long time to actually make happen. And I think it's going to be transformational for the state when we start flying here. So I wanted to congratulate you guys on that and all of the hard work that was put in to make that happen. Secondly, on the Agile side of things, the testing side of things, really close to getting a groundbreaking date in place there. They have a signed lease with the Tulsa Airport Improvement Trust. So we've got land set aside. They're in the right contractual spot to start working on what are we going to develop there, how are we going to build it, and they are going through the process of lining up contractors right now. And so again, this is going to be another really big thing for the state whenever we bring this facility to Tulsa. But it's also going to be one of those things that benefits the Oklahoma specifically, from everything from the build out to the tax revenue and everything that's going to come from it whenever the facility's fully utilized. A very exciting thing is that there are major primes that are in conversation with Agile right now about being anchor tenants for that particular facility. And so the hope is there's one particular group that's looking at coming into Oklahoma July 7th and 8th to talk testing and to really give specs to Agile on what they're going to need to test and hundreds of thrusters through that facility over the next 5 to 7 years. And so when we start to see that kind of momentum around a project, especially from primes, that's a really good signal for the industry at large, and also for OSIDA, for Oklahoma, and for everybody that's done the hard work getting that project moving forward as well. So a lot of really positive indications around how much demand there is for that particular facility. So those are I know those are the two major projects we've been working on, both really positive updates and good progress on each. I think we're also really close. There's a couple conversations that are going on with folks that are going to be leveraging the Dawn vehicle to where I think we're going to start seeing more MOUs come into place around that vehicle between Dawn and certain entities that need that 3, 4, 5 minutes of microgravity at a time. And so we've had some great discussions with companies here over the last 3 weeks about what facilities they're going to need out at Burns Flat. Fortunately, it's nothing extravagant. It's actually right in line with everything that Dawn is already going to need just for their operations. And so I think we're positioned really well for a lot of these companies to not only leverage the capability, but then be able to do some of the processing on site out there at Burns Flat, which again will be it'll be great to see real space activities and things that are going to be transformational for 3D printing, for semiconductor work, and also for some of the pharmaceutical work. Most of the conversations I've had here recently have been around the semiconductor side of things, because that's an iterative process that they would use the vehicle for before moving into larger, more full-scale demos on orbit. So those are, again, really positive developments for utilization out there. There's a couple other, what's been neat is to see kind of Craig engaging with a number of other space companies that are interested in coming to Oklahoma, and kind of seeing what we have to offer here. We have Phoenix Space that's going to be in town here very soon. I think that's a next week thing. And then we've got Rocket Propulsion Systems that are looking at coming to town as well to see what could be possible from a testing capability out at Burns Flat, and kind of getting to know Oklahoma. People are just starting to pay attention to us now as a state, which is really good. The last thing that I'll leave you with, from an update standpoint, we have another company, a European company that is interested in kind of establishing their U.S. footprint. I would say in the region, could be Oklahoma or Texas, but they are looking at Oklahoma, the political diversity that they would get if they had facilities in Texas and in Oklahoma, and the capabilities and facilities that they have access to. And so there's just, I think there are 5 or 6 real business development conversations that are ongoing right now, that I think we're going to have opportunities to see fruit from over the next 6 to 9 months, as we kind of walk through it. And again, some of these are people starting to reach out to us that are real and credible entities, that were not thinking of Oklahoma in the past. So again, all of the work that's been done here recently is starting to really turn heads. So that's a really good thing. I'd like to stop and allow you guys to ask questions, but I just can't hear anybody. So I'm going to assume that if you have questions, maybe Craig, if there's anything that you want me to talk about, or any questions that are in the room, if you want to text me, I'll do the best I can to respond there.
Anyone have any questions for Gabe or things you'd like him to touch on? No? Okay. Let him know we are good. Thank you very much, and good luck with his softballing. All right.
Okay, no questions. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gabe. All right. So now we will go back to the executive director's report.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate this. So yeah, this being our last meeting as the Oklahoma Space Industry Development Authority, we're going to go back and reflect on the timeline of the agency and kind of give a flyover of what's been accomplished. This was just quickly put together, so this isn't all encompassing of everything that's happened. I'd gone back through the minutes for the last 25 years of the board meetings over this period of time. And these are things that stood out, that might be pivotal or might be remarkable. Of course, we were established by the legislature in '99. We were under a different agency at the time, and we were stood out to be specifically focusing on space industry development. The grand opening was in the city of Clinton, had a simple transfer in 2002. The air park was deeded to, I think, Senator, you might have been there for that particular event in 2005. Does it seem like that long ago? Was it?
No, it seems like about 3 days ago.
Right, I'm about to say, you start looking back on those things.
I had black hair then.
Certainly got our spaceport license in 2006, and that was a pretty remarkable event. That we were the very first landlocked inland spaceport license by the FAA at the time, and Bill Curry just did remarkable things to get that accomplished. And I wish Bill was still here, and he could see where we are and where we're headed now. And then, of course, that same year, the city of Clinton actually physically transferred the title over to OSIDA. And it was about that same time that Armadillo Aerospace was doing lunar lander tests for the X Prize. And they were doing some actual tests out here. One of our crew actually built the pads that they had to fly the lunar lander from one pad up, carried over, and then landed on the other pad, and to be able to prove that it was capable. So still works at our facility, and can show you where those pads are. Bill, again, in 2010, created the space flight corridor. Of course, Bill was a commercial pilot for Delta Airlines for years and years, understood the aerospace maps, and worked closely with FAA to devise a corridor that could be used during certain parts and times of the day. And the Infinity One was operational for a few years. We don't think we ever got any chance to actually utilize it, but it's one of the things we can still tout, that we were the very first spaceport to have a flight corridor designed for space flight. Some other things, Rocket Racing League. If Gabe were still on, he might be able to tell us a little bit more about this. This is something that Jim Bridenstine was involved in back in the day. And then, of course, our headquarters building, we were utilizing a building that was operated and controlled by the Western Tech at the time, and they gave us use of that building for as long as we needed. And I think we used it for about maybe 8 or 10 years before a new building was built. And so the building we're in now, the ground was broken on 12, and we moved into it in 2014. And it's about that same time frame that the joint use agreement was awarded to OSIDA. Of course, the joint use agreement had been in effect for probably 30 plus years with some entity at that point from 1970 when they closed the base, because the Air Force wanted to continue to utilize the asset. And OSIDA has had that contract for a little over 10 years now. Spaceport license renewal, you do those every 5 years. And then in 2020, Bill retired. 2021, got the renewal of the spaceport license and our JUA. Luxair, our FBO. We didn't have an FBO for about 4 years before that. And then that was the first time the large airplane manufacturer arrived for testing. And then Kratos flies the Airwolf at Clinton Sherman. And that's about the same time the restaurant opened. Hangar 117, that was one of our 6 hangars. And if you ever heard the story, I think Vince Howe used to tell the story that we had an entity, a person come in that wanted to lease some space. And since there was a hole in the hangar, there was pigeons. And since there were pigeons, there were several inches of debris on the floor. And this person came with stilettos and really nice shoes. And he said, I knew when she walked in that hangar, we didn't have a chance of getting that getting that contract. So that's kind of a quick flyover. I've got a slip. If I haven't, I think if you joined the board, I shared that with you. And if you want to see a copy of it again, I'll be glad to share it. Remarkable events. Just a quick bullet point of just some of the things that have occurred over the last half dozen years. As you read through this, there's legislation to extend the board members was passed about 2 years ago. That gave, at the time, board members served 2 terms of 2 4-year terms. That was legislation was passed to give it 3 4-year terms. Certainly our FBO. It's really remarkable to have interest from the legislators and elected officials. And we've had a U.S. Senator actually visit and hold a town hall meeting at the spaceport. And we've had staff from all 5 congressional offices visit the spaceport, and some of them repeatedly. And then, of course, our legislators have come out a number of times and done delegation groups out here and individual visits. And, of course, the governor came out when PAC did their ribbon cutting a couple of years ago. Fun to talk about, when I think most of us joined this board, there's 6 hangars, only one of them was occupied, and it was occupied by an energy-related business. It wasn't even aerospace-related. So now to see all the hangars are occupied, and we're needing to build more is a good place to find yourself. We've got our first spaceport tenant a couple of years ago, and now with the announcement of Dawn Aerospace, great things continue to happen. We're excited about those things. This is some of the things that some of your numbers folks will probably appreciate. And this is the figures, revenue totals since 2018. 18, 19, most of us probably started here around 20. And you can see the continued climb. That last bar looks short because that's only 6 months worth, but if you double that, and I can tell you the revenue that we pulled in the last 2 months is going to push it clean out of the top of that that screen right there. So we have left, and we will leave OSIDA in a much better financial situation than we found it when we all arrived here. Airport projects, you know, I've touched on some of these. In 2021, we did a little bit. This is where the times, if you look back, we didn't have a lot of appropriation. So what we would do is we'd save our money year over year, and we would be able to save enough money and maybe match it with whatever FAA funding we would get, and we could do a $700,000 project or a $500,000 project. And it would take us a few years to be able to save the money to do that. So that's what was taking place in 2021. We got a little bit of money from FAA, and we were able to redo the small runway. And then we've been able to do some small items, you know, improvements to the first floor of the air traffic control tower, repainting it, things like that. Now we've got tenants in the tower. Hired an airport manager in 23. You know, secured a longer lease with our FBO. And again, we didn't have an FBO for 5 years, I think from 2018, 2017, I think is when the FBO left. And so there was really no reason for anybody to land at an airport if they can't get fuel or any other services related to that. So having the FBO provider has kind of changed the trajectory for the airport for sure. And then of course getting the PrEP funding and the ARPA funding, that was a great shot in the arm. And of course in 2023, we started the engineering for that, and engineering, as I'm learning, takes a long time to get accomplished. And so some of the things didn't move as quickly as folks would like to have seen it move, but we did queue up a lot of projects that started in late 2024. We were able to actually pull the trigger on those and move, spending about more than $10 million on apron, taxway, pavement repair, signage, lighting, new electrical. We have new LED, new signage, new paint, several unusable buildings on the airport side were demolished, and that cleared the land for what we expect will be some lease and development in future years. Hangar repair, walls replaced in a couple of hangars. When we took some of the buildings down, one of the buildings was actually connected to 2 of the hangars, and so when they took the building out, some of that wall had to be removed as well. And so we were able to use actually some of the tin from the pack hangar, which they don't make anymore. So we were able to use that to be able to match it up and put it on that particular hangar, or in those tanker hangars. And just this last week, the installation of the airport detect and avoidance radar technology. The radars have arrived. They wanted to get the same pricing or similar pricing for these, so the board approved last month ordering 3 more. So we'll have, we have 3 actually on site. They actually plugged it in this week, and it's operational. It's gathering data right now, and that's what they wanted to have, is some baseline data that they can use when they start doing some unmanned operations out here. So that's pretty exciting. That was some of our PrEP funding. And then of course we're investing heavily into our airport security, our fence, gate repairs. That should be, I was talking to Joe yesterday, he thinks it's gonna be done within the next month. I'm a little more, I just wanna be realistic and say, I'll say winter. And hopefully by fall, we'll have proximity cards and cameras at all our gates and entrances. So that'll be a help for both our Air Force partners and our current partners and tenants, and some of the ones we hope to have in the future. Again, when we started, only 1 hangar was occupied. We didn't have an FBO. The restaurant had been empty since 2016 and didn't have any high speed. Well, we had copper. We had a what do they call that? What's that copper line that? Yeah, we had a T1 line for a number of years, and we didn't have any other high speed other than that. I think our building had maybe 10 meg up and down. So one of the first things we did, I think it was in 2021, we had fiber run to our building, and then now we've been able to spread that fiber to some other areas in the airport, and we'll be able to can't do fiber everywhere, but what we can do from some of those nodes, we can do wireless bridges and extend that high-speed capability to a lot of different areas. When I started, the medical clinic was operating out of a temporary trailer, and their grant read that they needed to be operating in a building that was actually the old medical building on site. And so our crew, after working with OMES for several months, going back and forth on how much it would cost, they were giving us figures closer to $1 million. Our crew was able to repair that building and bring it up to situational use for the clinic. for a fraction of that, and they've been operating there for about 5 years now. We didn't have any tenants in the air traffic control tower except for the guys sitting up in the cab, and now we have a number of those. And only one of our bunkers was occupied. And of course, if you drove through the air park, it looked like a storm had come through. So as you saw these abandoned buildings, many of them had garage doors that were waving in the wind. Most of them didn't have roofs. Certainly hadn't been painted since the 60s, and it was not an attractive thing to drive into the park and see. So now the hangars are occupied. We have plans to build more new tenants. Some of them occupying formerly empty and decaying buildings. If a building's not occupied, it's going to continue to decay. If we've got tenants in it, we can kind of keep up with what's going on inside there, and they'll get taken care of better. The restaurant's leased. It's operational and successful. Let's see, the tower has new carpet. We're going to get fibers going to the tower. And then, of course, in 2023 was a landmark year when we finally got some funding from the legislature through PrEP funding and ARPA funding. And that certainly changed the trajectory for the spaceport. So we were able to put a lot of that money into projects that we could never, well, we weren't going to save up enough money year over year to do all the things that we're able to do with it now. So we've spent several $1 million on the runway, getting it up to condition, and some of the other projects we've got queued up will change and extend the life of this airport, spaceport for a long, long time. And then, of course, this year, record-breaking income this year, the detect and avoidance system, maintenance and repairs, and the electrical improvements. I can't tell you, I wish Joe were here so he could explain some of the challenges we had with electronics on the runway lighting. You get weather come in, and it would affect the capability for the tower to be able to turn the lights on and off and do adjustments to it. So getting those things updated is certainly much needed. And you've seen this, the ARPA projects and where that stands. Our PrEP funding, where those stand now. As many of these PrEP projects are starting to come in already, and I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. The engineers report, they do the best they can to kind of give an assessment, an idea based on current conditions and pricing, what a repair will cost. And so when we do the bids, there's that cost factor in mind that this is what it should cost. Many of in each one of our projects that we've bid so far, many of them, or most of them, have come in over that amount, and a couple of them have had some change orders. So we continue to see prices go up, and so some of these numbers will have to be adjusted a little bit to be able to continue to pay for the projects we have queued up. And this is, a little exciting. It wasn't this way just the other day, but we had about a month ago, this truly was, you would pull up on site and there was just several different crews working on various projects taking place. And this is the numbers of contractors that we counted that were taking place and on site on several days during the month of May. And all those workers are buying their lunch and buying gas and buying groceries and things like that in Burns Flat. And I can tell you, too, right across the street on Highway 44, which is the north-south highway that takes you from I-40 down to Highway 152, on the east side of that, a local what's the fuel provider, convenience store owner has had that land for a long time, but is now moving forward on building a truck stop at that location. So having that land for a long time, he's wise enough to look at numbers and calculations, and this was the one he decided to move forward on because he can see the progress that's taking place at the spaceport. Actually filling up gas the other day, and somebody pulled up and is filling up at the tank next to me and said, "So what do you think they're building there?" And I told him it was a truck stop, and he said, "Well, why would anybody build a truck stop here?" And I said, "Well, sit down and let me tell you." And so he got this speech. And space projects, I think Gabe touched on a number of these, but certainly we've been going to space conferences for the last 10 years. I used to joke that poor Bill would go to a space conference with a sandwich board saying, "I've got a spaceport, ask me about it." And now, working alongside with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce and now going forward with the Oklahoma Department of Aerospace and Aeronautics, that we expect to see more resources and some more capabilities that we certainly didn't have in our small budget. And so we're able to make a bigger splash and call with a louder voice at some of these trade shows. And an example of that is when we were at Farnborough last year, got to meet with, and we'd been discussing, and some of the things that Gabe was just talking about, is you start kind of discussing with these companies, when you can actually sit down and get face-to-face with them, as we did at Farnborough last year with the Dawn Aerospace team. And we were able to move the ball forward, actually sitting there with the legislators and the lieutenant governor. And then we were able to, that led to the announcement that we had a couple of weeks ago with Dawn. So you can see the fruit from some of those things taking place. And so there's a couple other things on here, Agile Space Center in Tulsa, which he actually addressed. And then certainly some of the things we're working on right now, the inland launch study, and certainly working to continue relationships with some of these companies that I've listed there. And right before the Paris Air Show, I had a little bit of time to make it up to Delft in the Netherlands, where Dawn has their propulsion team. Now, that's one company, a couple of different entities. And these poor guys up in Delft, they said, man, all the excitement's down in New Zealand because they've got that really cool vehicle. These guys at Delft have built these thrusters that they put on satellites, and they put on some other equipment. They do some really fun stuff. And if you could scroll in, that one gentleman there in the middle, his name's Josh. He's actually from Texas. And he worked in aerospace industry in a couple of different entities. Now he's working over here. And I should have scrolled in a little better on that. That is a CubeSat that he's got there. And then he's got the components that they build at this facility, at Dawn's facility, that has the capability to lock into it. And it can refuel the satellite in space. And it can also download data or pull data from it, and then be able to unlock and go elsewhere. So what they plan to have is a number of fueling stations in space that they can go get fuel from, and then take it to the satellite, refuel it there, come back, and so there's like a capability. And so they've got 3, I think, companies that they are working with that are putting that interlock on their satellites so that Dawn can be able to service them going forward. So really, really neat stuff. That's their building on the south, on the far left down side of the corner. It's an Innocuous building. It's an industrial park. It's across from the Grolsch Brewery. And then that's what their offices look like. It's I think it was a former food warehouse or something like that. So it's about 3 stories high. And then they've got stairwells and offices on one side. But they have about 40 to 50 people that work in this facility. I was able to get a tour with them on Friday afternoon, and just got there just in time before they closed for the weekend. But they were really gracious and showed me a time. That gentleman up in the top, he's from South Africa, and he moved to the Netherlands to be able to work for this company. And he's the one that picked me up from the train station and took me on the tour. His name's oh my gosh, I said that. But Dustin Holloman, and he was terrific. And that's kind of the flyover. If anybody wants to add anything else to it, that's kind of a quick, in a nutshell, what OSIDA has done for the last 25 years, and it's been a great ride.
It's been a great ride. And Craig, you certainly are the face of space for a lot of the projects and the people that we meet and hope to bring to Oklahoma. It is, I know that we have had some lean years with no funding, and as you said in an understated way, projects have been deferred for a long time. And so the progress that has occurred in the last 3 years is remarkable. And space is on the horizon, so that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have questions for Craig? No? All right. Okay, moving on to agenda item 8. Discussion and possible action regarding Premium Aerospace Center request to build a hangar and parking lot, and approval for 40-year land lease. So I don't know about you all, just received that lease, and I know I have not had time to review. Is it? No. We also know that the ODAA will be having the commission, OAAC, is that right? Oklahoma Aeronautic and Aerospace Commission?
Oklahoma Department of Aeronautics and Aerospace, ODAA.
ODAA, okay.
It used to be OAC. No, I get confused. I think the people that work at the department still are
We're going to call them the commission.
The commission.
How about that? The commission is going to meet July 6th, and
No.
so, what?
No.
9th, July 9th. And so I would recommend that we not take action on item 8, and that we will let the commission move forward with that, where they will have more time to review the documents and address any questions or work out any details. Do we need a motion or something for that, Bailey?
But if you want to make a motion of letting OEA take it.
I think we're good with that one.
What do you think, Mr. Schultz?
If we're good with just saying we're not taking any action on item 8 today, I'm good with that. Or if we need a motion,
Okay.
I can do that as well. Okay, very good.
All right, thank you. Moving on to grant applications. Deidre.
Okay. Hi. So at the last meeting, I had pitched developing a process for some applications to use our STEM funds. There is about $160,000 in our current STEM funds allocated specifically for this. We have used them in the past for the Tulsa Air and Space Museum. I developed an application, and we sent it out to several different organizations. 2 of the star bases responded, and then 2 of the Air Force associations responded. And so that is what I have to present to you today. In the very back of your folder, the last, like in the pocket of your folder, does everybody have them out? That back there is where you will find them. We're gonna go over each one of them individually and talk about what they've requested, and then we're gonna talk about them and then possibly approve each one individually, okay?
Mhm.
Do you want me to move on to number 10?
Yes, please.
Okay, so moving on to number 10, the first one is going to be the one that says that the applicant organization is the Oklahoma State AFA. We're starting with that one,
Okay.
all right? They have requested $10,000, and you can read through there if you want, the program summary and the program vision. They're gonna be using this for their annual awards banquet, but also the student camps that are hosted by some of the smaller chapters. So this is an overarching AFA grant, and it's gonna go to Tulsa, Enid, and Altus chapters as well. So that's why this one is very general right now, because it's gonna kind of be spread out. So not just the award banquet, but also those other chapters. They do host the Cyber Patriot and, what's the other name? The other name of it?
Stellar Explorer.
And Stellar Explorer programs that Oklahoma has. And so this is going to go to lots of students throughout the state. Are there any questions about this one?
All right. No other questions, I don't believe. This is certainly within the scope of our OSIDA mission, is to stimulate STEM in the state, and I appreciate your initiative to get the grant applications going.
Okay?
So, do we need a motion here to approve? Oh, okay, so here's the thing. They're all separate. So
Mhm.
we need separate motions for each?
Yes, we need
Okay.
separate motions. Can I make a motion? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Seconded.
All right, JW.
Okay, so to number 11.
Right.
Oh, we have to vote,
Gotta
we have to
vote.
vote, sorry.
Sorry, I'm lagging. Ms. Gurry,
Aye.
General Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Aye.
Chairwoman Rolls.
Aye.
Now I won't step on the director's toe, or the chair's toes and move on to the next bullet. Okay, the next one is the AFA Jarity chapter. So this one put in their separate one. Like I said, the other one was talking about some of the smaller chapters. This is a larger chapter, and they are requesting $10,500, so just slightly more. This also goes to the Stellar Explorers and Cyber Patriot programs. That is also aerospace and space-related educations for K-12, for kindergarten through 12. So almost, essentially the same mission, so. And if, when everybody's ready, I would like to make a motion to approve.
And so this group is more central to Oklahoma City? Or-
Yes.
The Jarity chapter.
Yes.
In and around Tinker, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. Thank you.
Do we have a
Certainly
Seconded.
highly relevant. Sorry.
I made a motion.
Second. Ms. Curry?
Aye.
General Lyman?
Aye.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Chairwoman Rolls?
Aye. You're on
Number
a roll.
12? Okay, this one is Starbase Fort Sill. There's several star bases across the state, but this is one of them. We only got 2 applications from them, and that just has to do with what their needs are. Their needs are different at each of those locations, and that's why they're separate. So Fort Sill has been very specific in what they're using so at the bottom of page 1, they have listed what they're using this money for. They are requesting only $2,515.70. Hopefully there's not an increase in
By a nickel.
in taxes or something. So you can see at the bottom there what they're using those for. This program, the Starbase program, reaches mostly 5th graders, but then there's also summer camps, and then there's also 6th graders that are involved in this. It is a Starbase is a program that lasts all year long, throughout the school years, the 5th graders, and then they have all of these camps that go along with it. So there are, for Fort Sill, approximately 1,800 students in that local area that will be directly impacted by these materials that they're requesting.
Excellent.
Any questions? Okay, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
You beat me to it, that's all right.
Ms. Curry?
Aye.
General Lyman?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Chairwoman Rolls?
Aye.
Okay, and the final one is Starbase Burns Flat, which has gone even above that list, and they gave us their actual Amazon list
I
of
saw
what they're
that.
going to
Yeah, that
specifically
looks-
buy.
that looks fun.
So you can see with your own eyes the kind of stuff that these kids are going to be, hands-on, things that they're going to be making. And when it comes, a lot of this is 3D printing, filament, 3D print stuff, which means the kids are taking physical things home with them, which will leave a lasting impact as well. So they are asking for $10,000.85, so very specific. But like I said, you can look through there, and I have no arguments with any of what they've requested here. It looks like very good supplies for their program, and again, like you mentioned, that this is definitely in the spirit of what OSIDA is trying to do for the children of Oklahoma. Any questions?
And if I may take this opportunity too, it says, going back through the minutes from OSIDA over the last decades, this fund was used to start the Starbase program. The first Starbase program in western Oklahoma was at Burns Flat because of this agency, so.
It's wonderful.
Nice. Good legacy.
All right, I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
Ms. Curry?
Aye.
General Lyman?
Aye.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Chairwoman Rolls?
Aye. And I would just like to say, Craig and I went to Southwestern Oklahoma State University a couple weeks ago to sign a memorandum of agreement with them. And one of the cool things we got to do was see their 3D printing lab and all of the things that they were printing. And, I mean, they print really practical things, but then they print cool things like their bulldog mascot in all different shapes and sizes and finishes, and dragons that are, fluid and
Articulated.
And then one of the neatest things, their building is an old military building, so the floor is concrete, and you look around the floor and it looks like big splotches of gum or something. Well, there's these divots in the floor of different shapes and sizes, so they took a scanner, scanned the hole, and then transferred the image to the 3D printers and printed the perfect fillers for those holes. So they're bright colors. They don't come out easily. You really got to pry them out. So
That's
it's
awesome.
very creative. So
That's great.
look what you're inspiring
I'm
here.
very excited about it. I'm big into 3D printing, so I'm excited to see all these 3D print stuff.
Absolutely, very cool. Thank you. Okay, so now we are at agenda item number 14. So we are, okay, let me just read this. We would like to have a discussion about possible board action regarding the executive director compensation. And at this point, we would like to move into executive session. Bailey, is there something you would like to say about
Yes.
that?
So if the board chooses to go into executive session, we'll
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Ms. Gray,
Aye.
General Lyman,
Aye.
Mr. Schultz,
Aye.
Chairwoman Rolls.
Aye. Okay, so at this point, we would just, we'll ask everybody to exit for a few minutes. Oh. Do we need to say something? Are they back in, you think? The audio group?
Yes. Ooh. It's working. It's working.
Yeah. We're back. We would like to.
I'd like to make a motion to end the executive session.
Second.
Okay. Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Aye.
General Lyman,
Aye.
Mr. Schultz,
Aye.
Chairwoman Rolls.
Aye. Thank you. During executive session, we discussed some of the accomplishments that have occurred within OSIDA, thanks to the leadership of Craig Smith, such as the Dawn Aerospace Agreement, the work with Agile Space Test Facility, all the advancements occurring at Burns Flat, at the spaceport and the airport, the work with Boeing, and all of the other activities that you have just been pivotal to, Craig. And so we would recommend a lump sum payment of Craig will be made to Craig in recognition of his excellent performance in his position.
Is that a
That's a
motion?
motion.
Second.
Well, no, can I move?
Yeah.
Okay, I so move that we make the lump sum payment to Craig in recognition of his excellent performance in his position. I need a second. Okay.
Ms. Gray,
Aye.
General Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Aye.
Chairwoman Rolls.
Yes, aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Craig. As we all know, moving on to our next agenda item, this is our last official OSIDA board meeting. The OSIDA organization will be coming under the Oklahoma Department of Aeronautics and Aerospace, or Aerospace and Aeronautics, and that commission will become the board, and so this board will no longer be participating on the OSIDA front. OSIDA will still exist. It will just be under a different umbrella. The current OSIDA staff will all be moving to ODAA and will become employees of the Oklahoma Department of Aeronautics and Aerospace. It has been really a pleasure working with you all. So this is our last board meeting. This is a good time for us to just, Craig, I appreciate how you've recapped where we've been, and it's been a long journey. I know when I first started the board, there was no money. I mean, there was just no money. Same with Deidre. We started about the same time. Mike's seen it even more
Worse.
bare than
Negative
we
money.
did. Negative money. And so it's been a real blessing to have the funding that has come through the last few years, and you've made some really smart decisions partnering with the Artemis Group and leveraging their connections and expertise for the advancement of Oklahoma space has been very smart on your part. So before we have final comments, because we'll let all our board members have final comments, we do have some commendations that we would like to make. And so first, I would like to present to OSIDA, the agency, which means all of your team. And this is from the governor. Let's see, I don't know. There's probably a better way to do this. What would you do, Jim?
Why don't you go up front, have Craig accept, and we'll snap some
Okay.
photos. How's that?
All right. We're not quite done, so. we'll-
trying to get out of this, Betsy. Bailey, what are you doing?
Oh, you want me back up there? Okay, okay.
I'm trying to get out of it.
Bailey, will you share the photos, please? Okay, Craig, will you share the photos, please?
So, let me just read, this is the governor's commendation. It's hereby presented to Craig J. Smith for leading the Oklahoma Space Industry Development Authority in promoting space exploration and spaceport facilities, stimulating the development of space commerce and education, and promoting research and development related to space and space-related industry for the benefit of the people of the state of Oklahoma. Your dedication in setting the foundation for Oklahoma's space economy has paved the way for significant continued future development. Thank you for your service to our state and the nation. From the governor. Thank you. Yes.
Did you take them all down there, Dick?
She's got it, she's got it.
That's Brenda.
I know. I'm getting old. I was trying to think of somebody's name the other day.
I also have one that for the OSIDA agency, similarly for promoting space exploration and spaceport facilities, stimulating the development of space commerce and education, promoting research and development related to space and space-related industry for the benefit of the people of the state of Oklahoma. And for all of you, your dedication in setting the foundation for the Oklahoma space economy from the authority's inception in 1999 through today has paved the way for significant continued future development. Thank you for your service to our state and our nation.
Thank you.
So, yes.
Just hold it and turn it, and we'll stand here. and
Okay.
take pictures.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. That's
Yes.
terrific. That's awesome. It's very helpful. Oh, sharp.
I know, you'll have to pass along our hearty congratulations. to-
Absolutely, yeah, I wish the rest of the team were here. That'd be nice.
And then we have one more. Be it remembered, or be it resolved, that the governor's commendation is presented to Bailey Warren. You, yeah,
That's you.
that's you. For your counsel to the board and executive leadership of the Oklahoma Space Industry Development Authority in promoting space exploration and spaceport facilities, stimulating the development of space commerce and education, promoting research and development related to space and space-related industry for the benefit of the people of the state of Oklahoma. Your dedication to bolstering the foundation of the Oklahoma space economy has paved the way for significant continuing future development. Thank you for your service to our state and nation.
You have to stand on
All right,
this
there you
side
go.
for the pretty
There you go.
picture.
Nice. There you go.
There, we'll get you guys in the background, except from here.
Do it sideways.
No, don't get us in the background.
Otherwise their heads will be
Not that way.
weird.
We'll do this with the,
Yeah, if you do that, they're gonna have fun foreheads.
Very
It's an
nice.
iPhone. You ever see that? Yeah, if you take a picture with an iPhone of people up and down, their foreheads get elongated because it's doing the wide angle thing.
Oh, brother.
Really?
Mhm.
So you always want to go sideways?
Also, when taking a selfie, it's a big difference too. If you go up and down, it'll make
Yeah, I
your
don't do
face big.
selfies.
Oh, boy.
Not intentionally. I do them, but not intentionally.
So they're always
Sometimes I
like.
go, oh, no, I got on there.
That's funny. That is
I had
funny.
it in my pocket a week or two ago and it was on, and every time I moved, it was taking a picture of the inside of my pocket.
All right.
Oh,
All right, do we have any other public comments? No? Okay, time for concluding board member comments, if anyone.
I do have some.
Mhm.
I've made this comment several times that I've, watched this thing since its inception. I represented this place in the Senate for a while and was honored to serve on this board. I've used the analogy that, it's an infant. You gotta learn to set up, you gotta learn to crawl, you gotta learn to stand up, you gotta learn to take that first step. And I think under this board's direction, Craig's leadership, this agency has more than learned to stand and take steps. I think it's been very apparent of what's taken place over the last 3 years especially. Those steps are now beginning to get longer. Our stride's getting longer, getting more stable. And that's a credit to everybody that's involved, credit to all the board members that came before us. I will say that every time we replaced a board member, I hate to see one leave, but the one that came in was better than the one they replaced. And I truly, sincerely mean that. And Bailey did a terrific job as chairman, but Brenda, you did a phenomenal job as chairman. Again, did better than Bailey did. And,
I don't believe
yeah,
that.
you did.
Thank you.
Don't tell Bailey that, but you did. And it's kind of neat to watch this thing move forward. You know, we talked about we're in a much better place financially than we've ever been, but I also would say physically, because of the repair work that's being done on the runway, because of all the dilapidated buildings that are going down, because of new construction, it's starting to look like starting to look like where I think a lot of people had this thing envisioned probably 15 years ago. We're just now getting to that point. But again, it was funding, and with funding, you can do things. And I had a conversation with the guy in Alta Sheridan. He goes, "Well, that thing's just a wreck, all those dilapidated buildings." I said, "You hadn't been there in a while, have you?" "No, I haven't." I said, "They're not there anymore." "Oh, really?" "Yeah." And so, I mean, it's just, it's neat to watch. It's neat to have been part of it. I hate this is our last one, but I wish ODAA all the luck in the world and future success that's been laid by this board and the current board member sitting here. I made the comment when I first came on, and I'll hold to it. I don't feel in any way even begin to be qualified to sit here. I'll go get y'all some tea or coffee or whatever y'all need, because y'all are the experts. But it's been a pleasure serving with each and every one of you. I wish this wasn't the last one. Craig and your staff, great job. Bailey, we want that back if we go to jail because of this last meeting. We want that citation back, but no.
She's doing her best.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, she's doing her
I
best.
know you only got so much to work with.
Yeah, right?
But no, appreciate Attorney General's input into all of our meetings. I know through my service in the Senate, that gets to be pretty tenuous sometimes about agencies hiring outside counsel and not following what state law says, and I'd say we provide you an AG representative, follow what those people tell you. So thank you for what you've done. And hey, this is our last one, but it is. So
Thank you very much for your comments.
blue skies,
Yep,
Godspeed and blue skies.
amen. Deidre?
I'm excited where we're leaving OSIDA. I'm excited that we have, we're leaving Oklahoma with a space vehicle that is gonna literally launch us into space. Oklahoma will literally be a part of the space, just the space race, I guess you could say. And that's a big deal, and I don't know if we've talked about that enough. I feel like, this morning I was getting a coffee and I was telling the girl, she's like, "Where are you going? You're all dressed up." And I told her what was happening. And she's like, "Wow, that's impressive." And I thought, yeah, why does the rest of the country not know that Oklahoma is going to be where Dawn is staging? And it's really a big deal, and I'm really hoping that ODA recognizes that and pushes that agenda and gets us recognized that Oklahoma is in the forefront of space. And I'm excited to be a part of it here at the beginning, and I know it's just going to keep going.
Thank you. Good comments.
Well, it's only been a year. I can't believe that I've been on this board. When I first was asked, my first thought was, after a career in the Air Force, when I think space, I don't immediately think Oklahoma. So I have been very pleasantly surprised and impressed by all of the space economy things happening in the state, largely because of the team that is represented here. And it has been a pleasure and a privilege to get to know each of you a little bit individually and to work with each of you through the course of this year. So thank you for that. Thank you for all you're continuing to do for the state. I know that the administrative roles may shift, but the mission remains, and you have really done a great deal to put us in a very good stead here in the state moving forward. Largely unsung, I think. So I hope that this move will help to publicize a lot of the great work and the foundational work that you all have put in place as it continues to move forward. So well done and thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Rob.
Mhm.
And so I'll just add a few concluding comments. I'm hopeful that the move to ODAA allows OSIDA and your mission to leverage some of the resources that ODAA has. They have social media, they have legislative relationships, they have more people. And so some of the operational things that it's very difficult, that you guys are stretched really thin. I'm hoping that we can leverage those, and then you'll see an acceleration in terms of being able to focus on what the core mission is. So that's good. And I think about where we are, we're kind of on, we really are kind of on a precipice for space, but what I really, when you see pictures of space, you see the blue line, the Kármán line, which really separates Earth's atmosphere from space. And from people who have been up close and personal, like Dr. Neild, that blue line is alive. I mean, it's for people who see it, it's thriving. It's not just a stationary, oh, here's a blue line. There's really something going on. And that's where I feel like we are at the Kármán line in terms of Oklahoma space. And it's alive, it's thriving, it's innovating, cells are moving, ions are charging, there's a lot going on. And it's been a privilege to be part of it. And I think our space economy, I'm excited to see it flourish and continue with your leadership and all of the team that has done so much to make it happen. Board members, it's so great to work with people. The thing that makes a great board is people who have different strengths and who are willing to contribute the strengths that they have, and then that makes us a greater whole. And I think in this case, we've really had that, and I've appreciated working with each of you. It's been an honor. And you as well, Bailey. Thank you. And with that, I believe we can.
I'll make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Ms. Gray,
Aye.
General Lyman,
Aye.
Mr. Schultz,
Aye.
Chairwoman Rolls.
Aye. And we are adjourned.